Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on MisplacedStraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest today is not only an amazing musician, but he's a good friend. He's fronted classic rockers The Sweet, he's hosted the Ultimate Jam Night, and now, after a lengthy hiatus and the tragic loss of his brother David, he, along with drummer Joey Casada and new bassist Sean McNabb, have resurrected their band ZO2 with a new record aptly titled Begin Again. It's a pleasure to finally welcome for an actual interview, Paulie Z. Welcome, brother.
How are you? Well, I would have come on sooner, but I've been busy looking for all your straws that you
I
misplaced.
know. Hey, let me know if you ever find them.
I've yet to find out where you put these things.
So now, before we get into the record, let's talk about the band. Like I said,
Okay.
you guys went on hiatus, and all of you were involved in a ton of different projects. We had the unfortunate loss of David. While you and Joey did sporadically get together with some guest bass players, what led to the decision to bring the band back full time?
Well, very, very simply put, it was one man who set the wheels in motion and will always get the credit. Mark Mendoza from Twisted Sister. He's the one who started this all. So for better or for worse, if you're upset that ZO2's back, you can send your hate mail to him. I think most people are probably happy, but he, obviously he's a friend and a colleague for a while. ZO2 has played with Twisted Sister many times back in the day, and we were just all kind of friendly from New York. And he's been super supportive of the David Z Foundation. Like every fundraiser I've done, he always does either a video, a testimonial, or he'll perform, or he just whatever. He's like, whatever, whatever you need, Paulie, whatever you need. He's just a great guy. And he mentioned to me, just casually, like literally, like just off the cuff, it kind of threw me for a loop. He's like, I just want you to know too, like, how much of a fan I am of your band and really respect ZO2 in the catalog. I love the music. He goes, if you and Joey ever wanted to do a gig to raise money or just for a one-off, whatever, he goes, I would be down to do it. I'd be happy to learn the songs and play with you. And I was like, you would? Now, first of all, you got to understand, like, this is like a legit
Yeah.
like, rock star that I grew up with. That's like him. That's like if, Paul McCartney told him, hey, Mark, if you want to, do a Twisted Sister reunion, I'll play with you or whatever. I mean, it was like, really? Okay. But I never in a million years, I honestly didn't think that I would ever play, do ZO2 again, especially not like a full set. I think I could see Joey and I doing a song or two, but
Yeah.
the idea of doing a full show with anyone other than David was just like, I couldn't even imagine it. But then I was like, well, but if it's for the benefit, if it's for the foundation and it's for a cause, and especially if it's Mark, it's not like just some guy we brought in
Right.
as a replacement. It's more of a specialty. It's a novelty because he's a rock star, right? I said that could be kind of interesting. I asked Joe, and he was like, yeah, that would be great. He goes, I'd love to play with Mark, even just to play with Mark. So we said, okay, why don't we do it for my birthday when I do the Ultimate Jam Night in March, which happened to be a week or two, I think it was a week and a half before the pandemic. So
Yeah.
it's,
I
yeah,
remember we
so it was
were
like,
there.
yeah, it was the last
Yeah.
like great event before the world shut down, and yeah, and we did it, and it was awesome, and it was weird for me just in general. I think I had a lot of mixed emotions that night. People can even see it on my face that it was just I wasn't like all smiley as I usually am. So I think it was just a very heavy, uh, um, a heavy night in general for multiple reasons. It was exciting to play the music again and to see a lot of like just to see you in the audience and all these other friends and fans from back in the day to play and sing that music. But then it was also like, yeah, but I look over and I'm not seeing who I want to see there. So it was just very weird. But he's the one who really led to it. And then the main reason we wound up going with Sean and not continuing down that path was a few reasons. One, he is Mark Mendoza from Twisted Sister. It'll always be Mark Mendoza and, kind of doing charity work for a bunch of two knuckleheads from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? In that sense. And number two, I think a big, big reason is that, well, two big things. He doesn't sing, which kind of, the signature
Yeah.
sound and branding of ZO2 is the three guys that sing and play. And he lives on the East Coast. And I think one of the biggest challenges for doing that show, even though it was fun and everything, but we only had one rehearsal. you
Mhm.
know, the night before. And it's like, it's very hard to get chemistry like that.
Yeah.
And now Joey knows the material, so I don't necessarily need to rehearse with Joey.
Mhm.
But whoever is going to be the bass player and then sing and then also sing harmony,
Mhm.
you know, we felt like we needed someone that was in LA local. And what's great about Sean is I've played with Sean many, many times at the Jam. And we're close. He sings, he plays, he lives like 10 minutes from my house, 15 minutes. So he came over a lot, and I would go to him, and we really had time to dig in, woodshed. He would ask me, "Oh, how do you want me to sing this or whatever?" And I think that's been the main difference as to why people are noticing that the chemistry is there
Yeah.
because the work has been put in. It's not like we just plug someone in. You can't just put Billy Sheehan in there,
Yeah.
you know, and just because he's amazing, you can't just put him in and it's like, oh yeah, there's the
Mhm.
chemistry. It doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
You know, it's like when you see all-star games, right? You put the all-star basketball team and guys
Yeah.
from different teams. It's the
Yeah.
best of the
You need
best.
that practice.
Of course, that's chemistry. No, people don't realize the magic comes from chemistry, and chemistry comes from mat time, like they say in wrestling. You know, like actually time in the room, being together. You know, so I think, and that's really like the main thing. Obviously, he's got the look. He's a great player, a great singer, and another big thing, he's also very sensitive to the role he's filling, and he's doing it with so much grace. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like he gets it, and he's very you know, I think that there'll be a lot of bass players that can come in and do the job,
Mhm.
but may not do it with the same heart and soul that he is. So there you go.
Mhm.
That was
So on to
that's the
begin
short answer,
again.
Jeff. That was the short answer again, by the way.
So on to begin again. I mean, most of the record, is greatest hits taken from the three ZO2 releases. You got a bunch of outtakes, some really great covers, but the new song, the title track, is absolutely killer. I think it's
Thank you.
probably one of my two favorite ZO2 songs ever.
Thank you.
Um, how did the song Begin Again come about?
How did it begin?
Yeah,
Um,
again.
well, yeah. Well, so ZO2 fans will know that it's actually not technically it's not a brand new song. It is a song, and Live Today also, which is on
Yeah.
this collection. They were songs that we did have back at the tail end of ZO2, and we're going to be on whatever would have been another record if we did one. Um, and we did play it live a few times. So those two songs were kind of like the new direction, but it was also the reason they sound different. And I think the reason it speaks to a lot of people too is because I personally was on this voyage of trying to become a little bit more fine, like dare I say commercial, but I
Mm,
really felt like the one thing we were missing was a song that was a radio hit, a crossover. Because musically we had the chops and the
mm,
songs are great and everything, but you know, like any band, like you need that, you still need to cross over to the people that don't understand
mhm.
what we're
Yeah.
doing. They don't even care that we did that two measures in 7/8, and they don't
Mm,
care.
mm,
They just want to be able to sing a song while they're driving or in the mall. And I felt like I wanted to see if we can even do that, you know, and that's why that song and Live Today, you can hear a difference. They're a little bit more radio friendly. I'm not belting the whole
yeah.
song, showing off my pipes, you know. I mean,
Mm,
most of the song is actually pretty mid-level,
mm,
and it was more also about lyrics. You
yeah.
know, it wasn't about like the lyrics weren't about telling a story of some sort of, you know, like rock and roll kind of cliche storyline. There was like a real lyric. Begin Again really was about me getting divorced originally. So and me feeling that same sense of having to
Mm,
restart over. And then it just sat there. That was it. You know, when we kind of took the hiatus, and the reason I say is hiatus is not we never actually broke up.
right.
It was just I got divorced. I was in a rough place. I moved to LA. You know, we didn't really have anything going on. The industry was, you know, in the toilet. It was just like we're like, all right, well, let's pause and do other things, and then we can always come back.
Mm,
And sadly, it's people didn't know this, but we actually, before David was killed, we had already had a plan of a return.
mm,
We even had a date in New York.
mm,
We had a whole plan of returning, and
mm,
we were talking about trying to do another TV show, and so that was really extra sad in the sense that we already had decided let's do this again. It never happened, but um, so what happened was when we decided to do this, I was like, well, let's put out a song and let's see if it resonates. I rewrote Begin Again
mm,
So anyone who knows the original lyrics, you'll see a lot of them are the same, but I rewrote it to be more about now David and how and the band and feeling like what happens when you, because I mean getting divorced is, you know, anyone who's done it, it is definitely a loss, you know,
Yeah,
it is definitely painful, but nothing compares to losing
yeah,
a loved one, you know, and especially someone who's like, I mean, you know how close we were. I
yeah,
mean, he wasn't just some person.
yeah,
So yeah, so when I rewrote it and I showed Joey, I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "Oh, I love it, Freak." He's like, we call each other Freako, and he was like, "Freako, that's." He's like, "I love it. It's perfect. It's exactly where we are. It's exactly what we're trying to say." And then Sean came in and put his, you know, I had a demo bass line in there, and he put in his thing, and it just, you know, there it is.
yeah.
That's
It worked.
it's. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just like there it is. There's the magic. There's the chemistry. It's exciting because I just never thought. It's like when you fall in love again. Like I
Yeah,
remarried, and my wife, you know, is like I always say my ex-wife was like winning $1 million lottery, and then my wife Lucia is like $1 billion. You know what I mean? It's like winning the Powerball. You never think. You think like you'll never feel it again.
yeah.
You know, and it's really exciting to feel that way again.
And as far as the classic songs on the record, did you guys do anything to them, like, you know, remixing or remastering, or are these the original studio versions?
Yeah, original studio version. No, yeah, we didn't want to mess with them. First of all, we loved the
Yeah,
mixes. There was nothing. It's not like they were released in 1972. You know, when the technology wasn't good. We gotta make. I mean, remastering wouldn't even make a difference. They're
yeah,
so well mixed and
yeah.
mastered. I think the only thing. No, I didn't do anything to those. The only thing I did have to do was like the Z-Rock theme song and Live Today. I had to kind of go in and level them all out. So I
Mhm.
kind of did a quasi mastering to make sure that just, you know, you don't want to put one song on, like the Z-Rock theme was like really low in
Yeah.
comparison. So I just evened things out a bit. And I think I did EQ that one just to match the rest of
Mhm.
the tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love, excuse me, it's a two CD set. And I love that it begins and ends with the new line, you know, with Begin Again with Sean, and then the cover of Waiting for the Bus and Jesus Just Left Chicago
Yeah.
with
Two
Sean.
bookends. Yeah.
Right. Because it feels like it kind of closes one chapter, but opens up a whole new one. So
That's what we
with,
wanted. That's exactly what we wanted, which
yeah,
is, and if anyone who has the album, it shows how old I am. The CD, if you look at the booklet, you'll notice the booklet. I don't know if you were going to get to this or not, but like, you know, the packaging is about like, it's like a gallery and it tells our story, almost like a little biography. And it starts with, the band now with Sean and how we started again, and then goes back to the beginning and goes through. And that was exactly why the cover is the same way. I specifically worked with the Gabriel Connor, who did an amazing job on this packaging. And I told him what I wanted, and we went back and forth. But I said I wanted to feel like our Susie, the girl that we usually use, is now she's like moving on, retiring from. I didn't want another pinup. At first, we were going to do another pinup, and
yeah,
then I told Joe, I'm like, I really think we need a transitional
mm,
image that kind of acknowledges the pinups, but gives us the opportunity to go in a different direction. It's like this is us now, and that's where that came from, that whole idea. So I'm glad you said that because it's exactly what we wanted.
yeah,
You know,
and it works perfect. There's a great flow to it. And now,
but
where do you see ZO2 going? You know, you guys played the album release show in New York City. You guys planning on more touring? Do you have some singles that'll be coming out throughout the year? Are you looking at a full record? What's the plan for ZO2?
a lot of eating. I see us going
As
to a lot of
always.
restaurants. Yeah, I see a lot of calories in our future. I think there's no, I don't, I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. For me, there's no delusions of grandeur. That's for sure. Like, I don't expect, and I'm not even looking for it. If it happens, great. That'll be a nice bonus. But Joey and I, when we said, "Well, are we going to do this?" We both kind of agreed this is not going to be our main thing again, like when we were in our 20s. Again, because both of us are fathers, right? He has two kids. I now have two kids. I have you know, a baby girl who's 11 weeks old. You know what I mean? And it's a whole nother world. I mean, look, I'm wearing polos for God's sake, you know, and I got like, you know, cardigan sweaters, and I'm like, I'm all dad up, you
Real
know?
rock star.
Yeah, oh yeah. Listen, but you know what's funny about it? It's like when I was young, I used to think that rock and roll was about it had to do with like the way you looked and the way you dressed and the way you acted. And I've learned that that's all nonsense. Because I'll tell you right now, I can out rock anybody on stage. You put me up
Yeah,
at stage, I'll out rock them in a second. I don't care. I don't care what I'm wearing. I don't care how short my hair is.
no doubt about that.
Put me on stage, I will out rock you any day. You know what I mean? So I got past that whole idea of what a quote unquote rock star looks like or acts like. That doesn't phase me anymore. But I will say this: there is a difference when you are a certain age, or when you're a parent, or when and also I'm a CEO of a nonprofit, obviously the foundation. I'm traveling all over the world doing music programs. I'm running business. So I'm not going to go in a van. Joey and I and Sean are not going to get in a van and start touring in clubs and stuff like that. That's not happening. So to answer your question, I think the idea is we kind of said we just want to do fun shows.
Mm,
Either a show that if it's financially pays well, we'll do it, right? So if it
mm,
makes sense financially, okay, we'll do that. Or if it's a fun show like a festival or opening for a band we like, even if then we don't make money or we lose a little bit, but it's fun
yeah,
and worth it, then we'll do that. So that's the cool thing is there's no pressure. We can just do this for fun. We know we have already a built-in fan base. It's not huge, but it's loyal and it's great. We love our fans. And I think what we would like to do for sure is put out new music, because what's great is we can put out music digitally. You don't need the big labels like back in the
mm,
day. We can put it out, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But at least we can express ourselves musically. And we'll have some shirts online, and
mm.
we'll have our social media, and we can connect that way. And we'll see if something bigger happens, great. But if not, we're happy with it just being fun and a passion project.
Yeah, and I have to ask, when you did the ZO2 show out here in New York City a couple of weeks ago, you kind of coincided with the final Kiss shows at the Garden. And I know that's a band that had a huge impact on you, Joey, and David starting out. And I think it was Steve Vai recently put out a quote that said, the entire landscape of music would be very different if there were no Kiss. You were at both of the shows that closing weekend. What did that band mean to you?
Oh, good. I was hoping you weren't gonna ask me how did I feel about the last. That's a
No,
whole
but we're
different
not going
podcast.
there. Yeah.
Please, thank you. Like, that's a whole other
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're not
conversation.
going there.
Okay, good. What well, look, Kiss for me was everything. They're still my favorite band, and I always will love them. Um, but I've kind of grown out of the fanaticism that I
Mhm.
had. I will say that. Probably when I moved to LA and I sold my pinball machine, I stopped collecting. And then, and I just, and, maybe just whatever, different lifestyle. I kind of got out of that fanaticism, but they're my favorite band and all that. But growing up until that point, it was more than just a favorite band. It really was borderline, dare I say, like a religion. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it
get
was
it.
like part of my DNA. It was like Kiss was just. I mean, I would say like I saw people go to church and they had Jesus, and I'm like, well, oh, you have Jesus, and I got Paul Stanley. Like it was
Yeah,
that important to me. I don't know why or what it was. I mean, whether it was the makeup, the music, or everything, but just it was everything for me. And I think there's a lot of layers to it. I loved the visual, obviously. So that helped me as an artist, as a visual artist who went to art school and stuff. So the visual caught my eye. I love the music. A lot of people give them a hard time about it, which is fine. It's apples and oranges. It's a taste thing, but I love the music. Like I can close my eyes and just listen to the catalog and never see their makeup or whatever, and
yeah,
still, I listen to Carnival of Souls. I like everything they did. So musically, I loved what they did. But I also think it was something about Paul and Gene, and I always was more a Paul and Gene guy. I know there's people that are more Ace Peter guys,
mm,
but because we were raised very kind of wholesome, Dave and I never drank alcohol. I drink
mm,
wine now, and I like
yeah,
alcohol now. I'm starting to get into like old fashions and Moscow mules. Finally drinking some alcohol. But my whole life, I never drank any
yeah.
alcohol, never smoked one cigarette in my entire life. I have no tattoos. I've never been arrested. I don't even have a cavity. Can you believe that? I mean, this all just like how many people on the planet can say that? I don't have a cavity. So, we were Dave and I were very wholesome. And I think Joey in that way too. That's why we clicked. We were just
Mm,
like kind of comic book Dungeon and Dragon, action figure geeks who just happened to be, I think, musically pretty talented and funny and had, had a good, had some skills that people enjoyed.
yeah,
But Kiss gave people like us some sort of hope. Because if you looked at Zeppelin, they were so cool and mystic, and I was nothing but nothing. There was nothing cool or mystic about me or mysterious, you know. And then you look at Aerosmith or the Stones, and they're smoking and they're drinking, and I'm like, "Bleh." I mean, the Beatles, I guess, were the closest things, but even the Beatles did drugs, and even the Beatles were a little bit more, for our age, a little bit too sophisticated. I
yeah,
didn't understand the Beatles at that age, but I understood Shout It Out Loud. You know what I mean? I understood, Deuce or God of Thunder, or any of those songs. They were simple enough that at that age I could kind of get into. But then you see Paul and Gene talking about like we don't drink, we don't smoke, and blah blah blah, and they're businesslike, and I don't know. It's just there was an influence on me that I think shaped me as a person, not just as a
yeah.
music fan. It's like how I lived my life, and how dedicated they were to their craft, how they didn't care what anybody else thought. Like that seeped into my personality. That helped
Mm,
shape empowered me, and you know what I mean, as a
yeah.
person.
Oh,
I think that,
100%. Yeah.
and that's the power of music too. That's what people don't realize. It's not just sound. It's
Mm,
not just music. Music and art is a dare I say, like a spiritual
mhm.
thing. It's a mental, physical, element that people don't realize. Anyway,
It shapes us as people, I
yes.
mean, once you get it and it's in you, it shapes who you are. Yeah.
Right. And that's why if used properly, music is an incredible tool for other things. We see it as like, motivating when people have songs of, protest,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can change the world with stuff like that. So that's why I love just, bringing in the foundation for saying that's why I love doing what I do with kids, because I see the power and the impact. You know what I mean? And I get off on playing the guitar in that Marshall. I love that too. Don't get me wrong. I love the rock star element of it. But there's a whole nother side of it that a lot of people forget, which is that moving of the soul and that shaping. You can literally shape someone if they're listening, depending on what they're listening
Yeah.
to, right? It can make someone very insecure or it can make someone very secure.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, and we've mentioned the foundation a bunch of times, the David Z Foundation. I've been honored to help you guys out some of the fundraisers out here and just to be part of it with you guys. Talk a little bit about what the foundation does and how people can get involved in it.
So it's called the David Z Foundation, obviously after David. It was originally, it's a nonprofit, official 501c3 nonprofit, in case people are wondering. So it's not just like some
Mm,
local thing that we do. Like we got everything is legit. But I had it while David was still alive. I had something called Rock Asylum Foundation back in 2011. I started it, right? And David helped me with that a lot. And basically it was music programs for kids,
mm,
and mostly we focus on underprivileged communities that don't have music programs or can't afford it. So when David was killed and during the pandemic, I had all this time, I had resurrected it because I had put it aside when I moved to LA and I was like getting my life back together. I said, yeah, maybe one day. I just figured one day, like when I'm in my 60s and I don't know, I just vision like, I'll do the philanthropic stuff later,
yeah.
right? I don't have time for that right now. But all of a sudden I had all this time during the pandemic, and it was fresh right, David had just passed a couple of years before. So I said, you know what? I really wanted to do this again, and now I have more of a motivation. So I changed the name officially. And basically what we do is music programming with kids, specifically songwriting. We write songs with either, depending on which program we're doing, either a group of kids, like a classroom or like a YMCA or a hospital, whatever, but a group of kids, or an individual. And each one is slightly different in what we do. But the idea is we go in and we write an original song with them about either an academic or social subject. If it's the group of kids, if it's the individual kid, we'll write about something personal.
Mm,
So that's more of a youth mental health initiative, and the other one's more of an academic or social initiative. But the cool thing is we're writing these songs with them. So they are actively writing these songs, original songs. And I go in, we record them in the studio professionally, and then we film them and make a music video. And it's all like at the most professional level that we can afford,
Mm,
right? Like I don't have $1 million Beyonce budget, but I don't go in and do it. It's like, oh, this is a kid's song.
yeah.
I spent, if you had any idea how many hours and hours and hours I spent either editing or in the
Mm,
studio, say, no, 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 that's a little, let's change that, or let's, as if it was like a Foo Fighters record that I was
mm,
producing. And and that is the idea. The kids then get that empowerment of like, oh my God, I did that.
mm,
That's me in that video, and we love it because we're doing what we love, right? We're
yeah.
writing, we're recording, we're making music videos, and I make sure the songs are all great because again, if it's not great, then I can't be proud of it. So it's like I want it to be as good as if it was a ZO2 song, or like I said, if I was producing, a real, like a professional signed label band, you know, and that's what comes out. You get these songs and videos that are just like, wow, like it's hard to believe that they're like kids, but that's what it is. And we're doing it all over the world,
Mm,
and we're winning awards now. This year we've won 4 awards, an Anthem Award, 2 Telly Awards. Even before this interview, I told you my shelf broke.
yeah.
I just all my awards fell down. Like thankfully they're actually real awards, so they didn't break in half. But and we just won, ironically, a Davy Award, a Gold Davy Award, and we're finalists for 2 more anthems right now. And what's cool about that is that's yeah, it's not to say, oh, look at all these awards. It's just a night. It shows us that we're on the right path and that they're people that acknowledge the work. That's the great thing about awards. It's not so much about like like even with the Grammys and the Oscars and stuff. It's just the recognition from other professionals that like you did good work.
Yeah.
That's what really, means something to us. And that's what we're doing. And now we've got, and we're doing a lot of these big benefit concerts. It's just so much stuff happening that I'm like, you can see the way I talk. It's like I can't sit still. I'm exploding with joy and ambition and just
And again, for people who are watching this on the actual Misplaced Straws website, I'll have a link to the David Z Foundation so people could go on and find out more about it. You could donate, and it's a cause that's near and dear to my heart. We've been part of it for a long time, and will continue to be. You've done some really great work with that, Paulie, and
thank
you
you
should
so
definitely be
much.
proud of what you did.
I no, and I know more importantly, I know David would be like
Yeah.
everything I do. I know it's like he would be like, And I will say the other thing is initially I knew it was going to be about him for the
Mm,
first few years, and it was, but we knew very quickly we're going to have to. It has to get past it being about
yeah.
David. It'll always be he's always the root and the inspiration. Obviously, David Z
Mm,
Foundation. Everyone will know that he was the reason we're doing this. But now we're at the point where we're transitioning into the point where it's beyond that.
yeah.
Because the people in Africa don't know who ZO2 is, and the big kids in Malaysia they have no idea who David was or who I am or ZO2 or rock and roll even. They don't even
Yeah.
listen to this kind of stuff. And they're the ones, we won the awards from those videos, and those kids are going crazy. So now it's about the kids, it's about the work. And that's a very exciting thing too, because I knew there's only so long I can really kind of just keep
Yeah.
pulling from that source of like, oh, this is for our beloved David. Because look, I got everyone's we all die eventually. We're all gonna go. And time at a certain point, there's that time factor where people are gonna be like, okay, but that was like, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, you
I'm
have
not
to
an
expand. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not an idiot. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, like people that knew him and loved, like I know you guys will feel it every year because you were his friend. But there's only so much I could keep going to like
yeah,
my neighbors and my back. Like I go to everybody. Like I got, my brother. Right? And there's a certain point where it has to be beyond that. And I feel
yeah.
now we got to that point where now it's really the work is speaking for itself.
Mm,
And I'm starting to get celebrity support. Corey Glover from Living Color was in one of our videos, and that's exciting too. So anyway,
yeah.
that's what we're doing.
And we talked about the band's plans coming up, but what about yourself? You always have a ton of projects. You
Who,
have your
me?
Queen tribute, Bohemian
I got
Queen.
nothing but free time. What are you talking about?
What's on your 2024 calendar?
Oh my God. What isn't? Well, I just told you we just had a baby. So I got
Yep.
now 2 kids. Um, and I have Bohemian Queen, a Queen band. I have Zepp LA, which is our Zeppelin tribute. I have Purplish, which is a new Deep Purple tribute. And we're playing Detroit next week. So I'm excited. Our first official show. We're starting a Journey tribute band next year. So that's what before. I have a Chris Cornell tribute band, and I have I don't say a tribute, but I have an Alice in Chains project. I did
Yeah.
like a full Alice in Chains show. So that's another thing that I have. So that's as far as bands, and then ZO2, and then my solo stuff. I'm doing a lot of recording and writing of my own material, more so for licensing to try to get stuff in movies and TV and things like that. Again, not to tour,
Mhm.
but like as a songwriter. Then I got the kids stuff.
Yeah.
I have still all the, I still teach preschool twice a week. I'm my son's music teacher at his preschool. I do tons of private lessons. I'm writing. I still have a lot of kids' music that I'm writing and recording, and we'll probably put out something soon. Then I've got the foundation. And then my voice lesson, my covers, I've been doing a lot of vocal covers to lead up to a vocal program.
Mhm.
And I'm getting just so many new students from these vocal YouTube covers, because I've been just pushing social media hard. I brought in a guy named Luis Khalil, who's great. He's doing my social media and he's just killing it. And like, I'm like, finally, I got a viral video of people
Yeah.
like, why don't you have a viral videos? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer the question because I don't know how to do social media. And now I finally got one. A cover faithfully is at 1.8 million views on TikTok. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
I can like, at least I got one for now.
There you go.
Yeah, and I just got recently voted president of the HOA of my complex where I live. So just if everything I told you wasn't enough, now
Just to add
now,
on.
yeah, I'm the president of the board, and I'm like, oh my God. Anyway,
Well, we've been spending some time here with Paulie Z. The band is ZO2. The record is called Begin Again. Um, Pick up physical copies, great artwork, great book involved in it as well. You can get all that online. Paulie, it's always great talking to you. It's a pleasure to finally sit down and do a full one of these. And
yeah,
hopefully, we didn't get to make it to this show out in New York a couple of weeks ago, but hopefully next time you're out here, we can check out a show and get together.
yeah, that'd be great. We'll go eat.
Yes, always. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, thanks, Jeff.